Hi Papa Peonies, it's Percy and welcome to my first ever YouTube video. Today I'm doing a speed paint of my Demon Girl number 2. Unfortunately I wasn't able to make a speed paint of the first one because things weren't set yet to make a speed paint, but now I am, and I will be doing as many speed paints of my artworks as I can. I'm going to be walking you through my process and also answering some questions that I got from Twitter. So as you can see here, my first step is to create a very rough sketch of the position or the pose that I want my character to be in. And as you can see, I completely disregard that first sketch because I just go in for a more detailed sketch anyways that completely ignore where I decided to put the eyes and the nose. The reason for that is I don't actually make the first sketch to make the final product. I actually just put it there so that I have a sense of where or how big the paper is, where a certain part of the paper is, since I'm so used to traditional that I kind of get lost in digital because I zoom in and I can't see where the edges of the paper are, so I put something just to get a sense of the space. Now the next step is the first part of the painting process. What I do is I pick a midtone, cover everything, and then I pick a shadow and a highlight. So this I think is very important. This step is where you determine your values. You need to pick a very strict midtone, highlight, and shadow. Why am I very strict on that? Because the more values you use, the more confusing it's going to get. So when you're still in the beginning stages of a painting, it's best to just find out where the highlights are going to be, where the midtones are going to be, and where the shadows are going to be. And that later on, you can change that later on, and you can add more detail to certain areas later on. But it always helps just to establish where the light touches and where it doesn't touch. And the reason I'm kind of strict with that on myself is because if I have more than one highlight, more than one shadow, more than one midtone, I'm going to get the less values you have, the easier it's going to be for you and for the painting. Number one, for you, it's going to be a lot easier because the less you have to keep track of, obviously the easier it's going to be. For the painting, the less values you have, the more separation, the more contrast you're going to have, and the more the shapes are going to be emphasized. So I really highly recommend to pick your values and stick to it. So if here my highlight is in the middle of the scale, I will stick to that. My trick to doing that is just picking my values, putting it on the canvas, and then I don't touch the slider anymore. I just color pick from the canvas and I don't go beyond my shadows or beyond my highlights. Except for certain occasions like this one, because for the horns I actually needed to use the color white for the highlight because of the material that I chose. But unless you have to, do not go beyond the values that you've already chosen for yourself. So while the speed paint is going on, I'm going to answer a few questions from Twitter. First question, what practices must be executed to become a better artist besides studying from real life? I think it's really good to practice just loving your work, because if you hate your work, you're not really going to do anything. Whether it's sketching from real life or whether it's sketching from imagination, if you don't like what you're doing, you're not going to keep going. How to deal with art block? Personally, what works for me is I get inspired, whether that's watching a movie, hanging out with people that inspire me, or just consuming media that inspires me. That gets me out of my art block. The biggest thing that helps me is watching other people's speed paints or watching the tutorials, because seeing other people draw and make things, it just gives me the urge to make things as well. How do you balance your digital and traditional work? Trick question, I don't. What I mean by that is I actually don't try to balance it. I just end up doing so because I just draw what I feel like drawing, and whether I feel like drawing digital or traditional, I just go with it, and I end up balancing it out anyways, because most of the time when I'm out, I just bring a sketch pad and I get the urge to draw. And obviously I don't have an iPad yet. I say yet because I'm broke. I don't have an iPad and I can't bring around my laptop every day because it's very tedious, so I just sketch on what I have, whether that's my sketch pad, a piece of scrap paper or a tissue, or myself, like my hands and my thighs. That's how I balance it, by not actively trying to balance it. So my speed paint is pretty far into it already. I think I took about 5 hours making this. I actually lost about 2 hours of footage because I'm not sure why I actually lost it. I think I deleted it by accident and I emptied the recycling bin, I can't remember. But either way, it didn't matter because those 2 hours was just me fiddling with a shoulder, and I ended up just going back to what it was in the first place. So those 2 hours were just a waste of time and a waste of space. So I guess it was actually big brain energy to delete it. So let's just pretend that I deleted it on purpose. Yes. So as you can see here right now, I am detailing the hand. Hands are very difficult, or used to be very difficult for me, but the more I drew them, the easier they became. I'm not saying that they're easy to draw, I still have a hard time with them, but they're definitely easier than they used to be. During this speed paint, you can actually see me quite often painting over things I already established, such as the eyes or the nose or even the horns. And I think that's one of the things that is really helpful as an artist. Well, not just as an artist, as anyone that creates things, whether you're a writer or filmmaker, you need to learn to kill your babies. And I don't mean that literally, don't kill actual children. But what I mean is, even when you spent so much time making something, but it doesn't end up working, just get rid of it. Like if you're writing something and you spent 5 hours making this page, but it doesn't make sense in the book, delete it. If you make an eye in the painting and it took you 7 hours, but it doesn't work for the entire painting, delete it. It took me so long to learn that, but now I'm in a place where I can paint over stuff that just don't work and I'm okay with it. I think it really helps to just keep drawing, keep doing it. At first you're going to get guilty, but the more you do it, the easier it's going to get. So here you can see me start using a textured brush. And the reason I do that is not just as for the textured outcome, because before I used to make the painting first with all the values, all the details and all that with a simple brush and then texture it. But now I block out, I want to say rough, but it's not really rough, but I pretty much block out all the colors and then I blend with a textured brush. Why do I do this? Because the textured brush for the skin ends up helping me achieve a gradient that I like and also a texture that I like. So it's kind of like 2 birds in 1 stone. The speckled brush helps me blend colors more seamlessly and it ends up working as the final texture. Now it also depends on your process and the output that you want. I know that this isn't going to work for everyone and other processes aren't going to work for me, so test it out and see what works for you. Now the common misconception is that, oh, Percy uses this brush so that means you need it. No, I can do the exact same thing with a simple round brush, it's just going to take me longer. I'm not saying that you need these brushes to be fast either, because it really just depends on your process. They work for my process and maybe a few weeks from now it's not going to work anymore and I'm going to have to do something else, but that's on me. And I honestly just want to tell everyone, you don't need all these specific tools and brushes to make art. There are people out there that make art with trash, so you can make art with whatever. I have actually drawn a very good portrait with just a Mongol pencil and bond paper. You don't really need that much, and all these fancy brushes that I have, it's not something that I need, it's something that I want, it's something that I like, it's something that helps me, but it's not something that allows me to do something. What materials you have doesn't define your capability to create things, it's your capability to use these materials which allows you to make incredible things, and you can make incredible things out of anything. So I guess I'm going to answer a few more questions. What things or who are the people that inspire you to create and develop your style? What things? A lot of things, mostly people. I really do love portraiture and drawing people. So people just inspire me, whether it's someone that just looks interesting, someone that has an interesting aura. If it inspires me, it inspires me. And for the specifics on who do I get my art style from, I really do love Glenn Arthur. He's the first Instagram artist I ever discovered. He usually makes acrylic on wood and his works are amazing. I love it. His works look like they're digital, but I know it's acrylic on wood and I love it so much. Another one is Dinotomic. I also found him on Instagram and he does mostly realism, but he likes to experiment with all the different types of materials, and he does portraits with like salt, so it's amazing and he really did inspire me. Another one is Loish, and her work is just amazing. I know it's very different from mine, but I really did study her for so long, trying to learn everything that I could, and it really did help me. Sometimes you can't just learn from people who have a similar art style than you. You should also grab things from people who have a completely different art style and implement it in your work, and it's going to end up helping you so much. What do you usually have trouble painting or drawing? Ears. My original answer was feet because they're hard to draw, but I'm saying ears because dun, 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 I always forget to draw the ears. I don't know why. I think I just forget that they exist, and even in this one I almost forgot it, but luckily I remembered. But a lot of my drawings actually don't have ears, which is why I guess I tend to forget them. When did you start doing art? I started doing art the moment that I could pick up a pencil. I can't tell you how old I was. My parents probably can't either. Who knows, maybe I was already drawing inside my mom's room. But you can even check out my room. My wall is full of childhood drawings and paintings. I even use my mom's lipstick to draw on the floor. But I started doing art seriously in 2018. By seriously, I mean I actually tried to improve and actually wanted to improve. 2018 is also when I started doing digital art. I actually made my first digital art piece in 2012, but after that I quit for several years until I picked it back up again in 2018, and I've kept moving forward ever since. Who or what circles inspired you to do art? I'm really not sure, because I've always just loved to do art even before I discovered what it was, and I have consistently surrounded myself with people that encourage that, and when I do run into people that don't like art or actively discourage me from making art, I just try to avoid them, because you don't have to be in circles that you don't want to be. Sometimes it can be hard leaving those circles, but it's going to be worth it, because you should be with people that inspire you to grow how you want to grow, when you want to grow, not people that go against you and your entire being. And art is pretty much a big part of my being, and I can't have people going against that. Last question. What keeps you motivated to do art? Myself. I keep myself motivated because back then art used to be a coping mechanism because of things that were happening around me. Art was my escape, and I eventually learned to love it and to appreciate it. So I motivate myself to make art for me. Sometimes for other people, like commissions, but most of the time it's for me because it's what I love doing. It's my escape, and it's also something that I like looking at. I like looking at my finished pieces. That may sound narcissistic, but I make good art, and I know, and I'm only going to keep getting better because I want to keep getting better. So as you can see here, I've added a texture layer. I'm not sure what this is in other programs, but I know in Clip Studio it's called Perlin noise, and it just helps with skin texture or other textures. I know you can customize it to get certain looks, but for me it just helps. I ended up blurring it out in certain parts where I didn't want it, like the eyes and the horns, because I wanted those smooth, and everywhere else I kept it because it helps with skin texture above the texture brush that I use. So if you guys want a more in-depth tutorial on how I do my values and hair or anything specifically, please do tell me so I can make one, because I'm not sure if you guys will actually be interested in that. For the hair, I think I'm not that good with hair yet, so I'm not sure what you can learn from me in terms of that. I mean, I do hair quite decently, not bad, not good, that's it. I actually had quite some trouble with the shoulder. I guess it's because, just much like the forehead, it's just an empty mass. It's just a big mass of something, and there's not much detail, so it's really hard to get a good shape in that. Anyways, I think that's all the time that I have for this. Thank you so much for watching. If you learned something, please do tell me, because I want to know if I actually did help someone. And if you like my art, please do consider supporting me. I have all my social medias linked down below, and I hope you enjoyed this. If there's anything that you want to ask, please ask me. I'll try my best to answer them in the comments, in my Twitter, or in the next video. I hope you really enjoyed this. I had a lot of fun making this, and I hope to share more art with you. So, thank you for watching my purple peonies, and see you in the next video. I'm so awkward, I swear. I'll get better at this. I'll get better at this for you guys. Love you.